thank you so much for joining us here on Soul Tribe channel, where we really help the empathic energies heal and come into their heart-mind balance to manifest a healthier world. And today we have Kayla and Rhea, Twin Flames in Union. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So I just want to ask, what was the initial experience when you guys first met?
It was a lot.
Yeah, when she first came over, like when I first opened the door and I saw her, it was just like a rush of emotion, and I just knew, and then I totally knew when we hugged for the first time, and I felt her energy and she felt mine, and it felt like home, like finally, like I could just breathe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'd met online, and we had talked for probably about, 2 weeks before we actually physically met, and we did that on a whim. It was like 10 o'clock at night, and she was like, I just can't wait to see you. We had planned our first date for that following Wednesday. It was going to be April 23rd, and it was supposed to be a meteor shower. So we were like, oh, that would be great. I was a bartender. The owner at my bar was like, he already gave me the key. He told me, go turn on the lights, do whatever, listen to some music, you guys have fun, watch the meteor shower. I was like, okay. Well, jokingly one night, she was like, oh, I can't wait to see you. I was like, well, send me your address. I'll come see you. And she was like, really? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So she did.
Like 2 hours away.
Yeah, I was 2 hours away.
That's so funny.
So, and then as soon as, I got out of my car and I seen her standing in that doorway, I think that's, permanently ingrained in my brain. I don't think I'll ever forget it. She just was standing there waiting, and I could tell she was nervous because she, picks at her thumbs. She flicks her thumbs against each other when she's nervous. And I could tell she was nervous. So I walked up to her, and it was, something out of, the ending of a movie, It was just, everything, all the bad stuff's happened, it's over, everything's right again, and you're just coming home at the end of that movie. Yeah. And that's literally what it felt like. And I walked in and I got a couple of feet in the door, and then we hugged each other, and it was so strong. Our energies connecting at that moment was so strong that I felt everything in me kind of flowing into her and around us. I don't even know how to explain that really. But it was like a tornado, essentially, if you will, of just our energies combining. It was so insane.
Yeah.
I actually got physically ill that night, so I stayed for 4 or 5 hours that night.
Yeah, we agreed not to sleep together, but we definitely exchanged energies a lot that night.
Yeah. But I left and went home because I have a dog, and I couldn't just leave my dog overnight anyway. So I as soon as I left, I got physically ill. So it was I got nauseous. My stomach was just all kinds of messed up. And then it took me until about 30 minutes away from my house before I started feeling kind of okay again. I was like, man, what is that all about? That's insane. But and then we went home and had a dream about her that night. So
So would you, Rhea, be the more feminine energy? And Kayla's the masculine?
Definitely.
Okay, yeah.
We have a bit of both, but she's definitely...
Yes. Well, eventually...
Yeah, I like makeup and stuff, but I'd rather be out, wrestling around with my boys in the back or something.
Yeah, because in the beginning, there's usually one that's more prominent. Then as you merge your own inner self, then you become very balanced in both energies, right? But initially...
That's exactly... Yeah.
I didn't know that. I guess it was me getting some more of that feminine, I just didn't have enough.
We kind of are giving into each other in that aspect,
Yes. Because initially there's quite a difference between the two, and it's this journey back to oneness, right? Where we balance those energies to create that highest life path and, create the healing on the planet. So what year did this all take place?
This year.
Oh, this was this year. So it was. So it was quite quick that it all happened. And
very quick. Yeah.
How long did you guys talk before the initial meeting?
About 2 weeks.
Yeah, about 2 weeks. But we talk a lot.
We talked. it was during, you know, like COVID quarantine kind of thing. Both of my jobs had shut down. She was off 3 days a week. So we talked like a lot. And we would talk until, you know, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning.
We didn't want to
yeah,
let each other go.
It was bad. It was so bad. Like I would go sit in my car because I had a roommate. I was actually, me and my ex had an apartment together. So I was scared that was going to be something to like deter her, you know, like I didn't want her to think that there was anything there. And as soon as she came over and met us, she knew.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was just like I would go sit in my car until 7, 8 o'clock in the morning and just like talk on the phone and just talk to her, you know, I mean, like anything just to communicate to one another.
Yeah. Now, when you guys met and there's this initial like coming home, did any fears eventually start to uproot?
Oh, yeah.
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 The fear of the connection and losing that. Like, even at the beginning, like, oh my God, I found you. It's like, I don't want to lose you. I was so scared.
Yeah, I think with me, it was like, I never expected to find anyone like that. Like, I was really just kind of giving up. Like, I've been through,
We both were.
Yeah, we both had pretty crazy lives, and, I'm the kind of person where like I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket, so to speak, you know?
Yeah.
I don't really like to like let go and let someone completely in. That is really hard for me. And with her, it was like she was already in there before I realized that I had done it, and that scared me.
And I was totally giving in to her. I was giving everything to her, and I could tell that she had a little bit up, but I was like breaking those walls down. Like,
she really was.
I really felt it.
And we still sometimes, you know, we'll still have like one of those the moments where like the fear and the past and whatever will kind of bleed through. But I don't get to the point, like if one of us was going to be a runner, we haven't experienced the runner chaser phase.
Yeah.
But if one of us was going to be a runner, I would definitely be the runner.
Yeah.
Because I'm started. So I get those little things that pop in sometimes, and I get scared. You know, either I'm afraid she's gonna like really just. I know she has the ability to crush me if she wanted to. I know that she wouldn't do that. Yeah, but I wouldn't. So I think just that, and we talk about it. You know, like so I'm like, hey, this is what's going on in my head and my heart right now, and she's always so patient and just very understanding. And we just kind of try to help each other through whatever it is that we're feeling. If that person needs a minute, they need space, that's cool. We give it to each other. But we always come back because we know how rare this kind of connection is. And we know how hard that is to find.
And we think we've had it before.
Yeah, we feel like we've had this before in past lives.
In past lives, yes. And that's the thing,
Yes.
you know, we're in this dimension of duality where everything has an opposite. Right? And that's what the twin flame is. It's that 1111 mirror, that awakening code of consciousness. And throughout all these different lifetimes, they've come into our lives. It's kind of like war. What does war do for the planet? It creates that evolution, right? So there's a lot of fears and all these issues that we're working through. And that's what the twin flame's done throughout many different lifetimes, right? To evolve us into that oneness, that above the fear and into love. And now it's because we're getting to this great awakening on the planet, and over these next 10 years, there's going to be major shifts into that feminine energy where we're starting to manifest our passion from the heart, right? So now people are recognizing what these connections are. You know, maybe other lifetimes we weren't aware it was a twin flame, but now is the union, right?
Yeah, and a lot of people talk about runner chaser thing and everything, and I'm not sure. I don't think we're gonna have that in this life. I think that in other lives that we might have had that the runner chaser thing, but I think that where we are now, that we were supposed to meet at this time, and we're ready for each other.
I think we were both ready at the time that we met. We were both just kind of like, you know, like, I'm done with all of this. Like, I just want my person so that I can, you know, just live my life to the fullest, like, in love and light. And, you know, and I know how contagious love and light is.
Yes.
And I know the kind of power that has. And I've always, like, had, like, this open door policy, you know, like, if you're upset, if something's happened, if you just want not to be alone, you can come to my house and be alone on the couch if you want to. That's fine.
Yeah.
You know, like, just come be safe here with me. And I've always wanted someone who felt the same way about that. And being around Rhea, it doesn't matter who you are. It's like there's just this magnetism about her that's just makes you feel so secure and so safe. It's the maternal, like, feminine, divine feminine. Minus the protectiveness, like, I will go to war for you,
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
And the way we initially met, too, the actual initial way, was very special to us, because I was actually I was trying to date and trying to find somebody, and every one that I would try to find, I'd always have to settle. Like, there was always something about them, and I'd always have to settle. And I was like, I just gave up, and I drank by myself for the first time ever, and I was getting really, really, really drunk. And I just looked up into the sky, and I said, take me home. I don't know if it was like suicidal thought. I don't think it was like that. It was more like, just take me home. I was crying. I was just drunk, and I ended up getting real sick that night. Woke up, I was hungover, and I happened to be watching a show called Catfish, and they were talking about a site called Hinge. And I don't go on date sites, but it sounded different than a date site, so I went ahead and checked it out. Something told me just to check it out, and so I went on there, and it was different from a date site. And she was the first person that I saw, and she looked so familiar to me. And I was like, who is this? And I sent her a message. And then after that, like, she'll tell you her side too. But we just talked till like 8 in the morning. I didn't think she'd ever even respond to me. You know what I mean? And yeah, it was just, I just felt something when we were talking that day. And I was like, I'm going to erase my account. This is it for me. And you said the same thing.
Yeah, I deleted. I had 3 different dating accounts, and I deleted them all the night that we met. And I've never done that for anyone.
Yeah.
Like, no.
And it's funny.
But, how she met me, tell your story.
Well, hang on. What was your question?
It's funny when you really put it out there. Like, when you get to that point where you're like, you're done. That's when you start to work with the magic, right? Because you actually start to voice, like, I'm done with all these settling, And that's when, you really put it out there, like, take me home. And what is the twin flame connection? Right? It takes you home. So it's like...
That's what I thought when I first seen her. When we first hugged, I was like, I'm home. Yeah. And I put 2 and 2 together. Like, that's what I was looking up at the sky that day. I was saying, take me home. And then you show up, and I'm like, and that's my home. It answered me. The universe answered me.
Exactly. The power of our thoughts, right? And really, that's what the twin flame union, this duality into oneness, teaches the world. That really this dimension is all for growth and evolution. And once you start to really live it and go past those fears, you go home. You know what I mean? And eventually there's ascension, right? But it's just really amazing to work with the energy on this planet and step out of the box, right? Step out of the fear. And even for people that were never spiritual, well, as soon as they start to work with the energy, they're like, there's so much more. Like, that's when... And were you guys spiritual?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I was for like over a year and a half or so. I became spiritual and meditated a lot and got into crystals and pendulums, and pendulums is my gift. Like, I'm really good with those, and then
I had taken it had been about a year since me and my ex had been together, and so I had taken that time, and I was just basically like tarot card, like, I just ripped myself down to the bare bones and then rebuilt with what I knew were qualities about myself that I wanted to keep. And I did a lot of stupid things, a lot of soul searching in that time to figure out who I was. Like, I knew what I could offer someone, but I didn't really know what I had to offer myself. Like, and I knew what kind of person I wanted to be for the person that I wanted. So I just started working towards that, and I'm in a coven. So my coven was there for me during that time, and like, they were just always encouraging, always very, very loving, very helpful. I had some friends that were part of me, and they were the ones that told me not to get off the dating sites. They were like, just hold on to them, even if you don't get on, just keep that door open. And I was like, yeah, all right, whatever, you know, like, I'll do it. So I did, and honestly, like, it's so interesting, because if one little thing that we had done had not been done or hadn't worked out the way that it did, we never would have met.
Yeah.
You know, we lived 2 hours away from each other. I had no reason to ever even be in Knoxville other than for Pride Fest. That was it. And I never even made it out here for that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I was spiritual. Mine is like, I'm Wiccan, so my gift is definitely more with herbs and, you know, I mean, a lot of Wiccans work with crystals, but that isn't necessarily my forte. I like living energies. I like, you know, the earth. I like the cycles, like the, you know, birth, the death, and all of that. So I find that best in herbs.
Yeah, and she's teaching me, and I'm teaching her.
Yeah.
Kinda,
and then you eventually meld it together, right? To do healing work for other people, which is interesting. And it becomes your own little specialty, right? So that's really, it'll be interesting to see how that evolves, right?
Yeah. And then the day we met and everything, tell her about your movie you were watching.
Yeah, so I don't watch a lot of chick flicks. I'm not that kind of person. I like watching like action, romantic comedy, whatever, like funny stuff.
Yep.
Here you go back that way. Sorry. So I like watching like action type movies and stuff like that. Well, for whatever reason, the night that we met, 50 First Dates had came on TV. And I was just in a weird mood, and I was like, whatever, I'll watch it. So I did. It got to the end of the movie, and I just got really emotional about it. I was like, that is the sweetest thing. Like, I went full on chick mode, you know? Like, I was crying. I was like, I just wanted to find something like that. Like, that's just such a pure, true love, you know? Like, and then I got a notification on my phone. I heard my phone go off. And, like, this thing in me was just like, that's the one, you know? And I was like, wow, girl, I really need to watch something else. I'm getting a little carried away with this. And so, yeah, I looked at my phone, and it was a notification from a dating site. And I was like, oh, all right. So I, like, looked at her profile, and I was like, wow, like, this chick looks really familiar. I've had many dreams about, you know, a woman that looks exactly like her. I know it's her, but you know what I mean? Like, and this was before we met.
It's funny, you guys read my mind.
Go ahead.
You guys read my mind, because that was what I was wanting you to talk about. Yeah. So funny.
So, yeah, we've definitely, we had dreams about one another before we met at different stages of our life. So, my hair right now is red and dark, but I'm a natural blonde. Yeah. And I've had my hair dyed black or dark brown for the past 8 years.
And so, when I seen her hair dark, that's when I was like, that's why you look so familiar to me. Because I've had dreams, like, throughout my life, even when I've been with somebody, and I thought that was weird that I was dreaming in this loving way towards this other girl, and I could never, like, reach her, and I didn't know what it was, and now it, like, all makes sense. It was her in my dream, and then your dream.
Yeah, so
she didn't tell me her dream at all whenever I told her about mine. She didn't tell me, and sometimes when I go to YouTube, I see a song and it resonates with me. So I sent her the song 1,000 Years. I don't know if you've heard that one.
It sounds familiar.
It's a really pretty song, and I sent it to her. And when I sent it to her, she said, in your dream.
Is it something like if I've died 1,000 times or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, I've died 1,000 times waiting for you.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And she had a dream, and then she started telling me, oh my God, in my dream, you said I've been waiting for you 1,000 years, and I was holding my hand out from a cave. I was in a cave, and I told her, wow, I used to go caving when I was young, like professional cave exploring and stuff. I've always been drawn to caves. Yeah. So that's how she saw me in her dream, is I was in a cave reaching out to her, saying I've been waiting 1,000 years.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of instances like this too. Like, we'll have like dreams. So like I've had a dream about I dream about wolves a lot. But now normally when I do dream, unless she's in it, it's a nightmare. You know, like, I have really bad nightmares. I've had them my whole life. So I'm used to it. It's not something that really ever affected me until I met her. And then the first night that we, like, slept in the same bed together, I didn't have a nightmare and I didn't dream. And I was like, oh, that was kind of cool, you know, like, because I can get kind of violent in my sleep. Like, I mule kicked my wall and woke my roommate up. I slapped my ex across the face so hard one time in my sleep that I woke myself up. And that's hard for me to do. So, I mean, I just, you know, I have night terrors. So I'm always worried about that whenever I sleep with someone. But I've never had a nightmare while sleeping with Rhea. Not one. It's the craziest thing. Like, and this has been, 3 months now?
Yeah.
And I've had one nightmare, but she had gotten up that morning to go make coffee and stuff, and I'd fallen back to sleep, and I had a nightmare. So they're obviously still there, but for whatever reason, our energies just keep them away.
It's like healing.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, it's so healing. Being in this union it's so healing on so many different levels. It brings up things that you don't realize that you were even bothered by in the past, but these are things that have obviously left their mark on you. You know, like traumas, like past experiences with people, like just different types of like relationship issues.
We've had very similar traumas when we were young. So
and we've handled them in different ways.
Yeah.
So, but being together, it's kind of like when those do come up, we just talk about them, and we're there for each other, and we're patient with one another, and it's
stuff that normal people wouldn't even talk about, like past things that was really bad that normally people wouldn't talk about, but we like totally open up and talk about it. It's amazing.
We let each other in as fully and as deeply as we can because we want to protect this union, and we want to like strengthen it as much as we can. So
no ego.
Which is really amazing that you guys are bringing those triggers up, but the ability to sit down and talk cohesively, that's not always something that everyone's in that space yet, right? That's why there's that runner chaser dynamic. So that's really amazing that you guys have dealt with. You must have dealt with it, like past life stuff, like you were saying, a lot of healing to be able to be at a place where the energy is so intense, there's so much love, it's so strong, but the fears usually just drive it to go wild, right? So it's really amazing that you're at that space that you can really cohesively get through it. And I guess
I feel like 1,000 years is significant to us. I feel like we've either split 1,000 years ago and we've had lives since then. I just feel like that is something significant with us.
Yeah. Actually, I was thinking that visual that you guys both produced with the dreams, I'm like, that would be such an amazing painting. To have someone paint.
So she's the painter.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a sculptor too.
Yeah.
But, like that, you should reproduce this as artwork. You know.
We did do some candlestick holders. We both painted them together. She painted hers and I painted mine, and they're beautiful. And I'm like, we have artistic talent between us.
Exactly.
Like we can show that. Awesome.
Like starting to recreate some of those dreams and visions, you know, would be really amazing. To help, you know, bring your love story to life, right? Because really, that's what happens throughout this twin flame experience. You're getting all these gifts, and they start to come even stronger, right, to help in the healing. So it's really interesting. I know with the twin flames, there's like this telepathic connection. And
have
you guys had some experiences where, you know, you really start to see the interconnectedness at a very strong, deep level? Is there
Absolutely. So I think that I probably hear her more than she hears me, but she feels me more than I feel her.
Yeah.
Again, it's, you know, opposite but complementary, you know. So I'll be upstairs and I'll think that she's hollering at me, and I'll holler down and answer her, and she's like, I actually was thinking that. I didn't say it, but, you know, the first time it ever happened, it freaked us out because we were just hanging out. Every night we have what we call window time. which is where we come in here and we lay on the daybed with the window open, you know, like we just turn some music on, light some candles, and just connect to each other. Just listen, forget about the time, forget about everything else. Well, it was during window time, the first time that it happened, and we were just cuddling kind of like we are now, and I thought I heard her say, "I love you," and I was like, "Oh, I love you too."
I was thinking it. I was thinking.
She looked at me like I sprouted horns.
I didn't actually say it though, but you said I love you too.
Yeah, I swear I heard it. You know, but we do that all the time.
Now, you know,
and dreaming too. We had the same dream.
Yeah.
Same dreams.
You know.
And did you recognize the meaning of the dreams, like when you're having these connected? Pardon?
It was a
Yeah, we haven't like figured all of this out yet. I don't remember a whole lot of my dreams. I know that like recently this past week, we woke up and she was like, we were talking. I was like, yeah, I had a dream about a waterfall. I mean, I don't remember what all there was. And she's like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, okay, so I had a dream about a waterfall and we were both there.
So amazing, eh? Could even be past life experiences that are coming up too, right?
Yeah.
So,
And it's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. This is unlike anything else.
I actually asked her to marry me when we went to Bristol Caverns. It's a cave, you know.
That I grew up near.
Okay.
And I actually, if you go to my page, you can see where I've asked her in the cave, but I asked her in a special spot in the cave that they married like 24 other.
Yeah, there was 24 marriages at this spot. It's called Lover's Leap.
Yeah.
Which is also funny. Mm-hmm. But so it's called Lover's Leap. There were 24 marriages in front of this stalagmite.
Yeah.
Stalagmite. Stalactite, sorry. In front of this stalactite called the Bride's Veil. And it really does look like a bride's veil. And it's huge. It's like, what is it, like?
Oh, it's
80 feet?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's just massive.
And I didn't know if I was going to ask her in there, but it just felt perfect. And I had a witness that held the camera for me, and she was like, "What are you doing?" And I just thought it was great. And then when we left the cave, I was like, "Yeah, it felt like I waited 1,000 years to do that." And I was like, "Oh my God, there's 1,000 years again!"
Right? And it's funny how that seems to keep coming up. So, you know, there must have been some past lives and things connected with these types of things, right?
Yes.
And that's the thing that it really gets interesting the more, like, when you start to connect with this twin flame, more of this consciousness starts to uproot itself, which is really interesting, right? Now, as you guys were saying, you were both spiritual before your initial meeting. You had some dreams that kind of, you weren't sure what these dreams were about, but when you met, it became pretty aware. Were you starting to see any synchronicities? What brought you into your spiritual path?
Like 1111, a lot. 1111, a lot of repeating numbers, like 444, 333, 222. You know, and then you didn't start seeing them until after we were together.
Yeah, but that's not what brought me into my spiritual path.
No. But that's what brought you into yours.
So what started my spiritual journey was so I moved to Tennessee when I was 18, just kind of on a whim kind of thing. Like I was, you know, trying to get out of the life that I had before that. So I moved up here, moved in with some family, went to college, and I kind of like, I wasn't getting what I wanted out of my life at that time. I didn't feel like I was living. I was working like 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week, like 40, between 40 and 60 hours a week. And I was in school full time.
Wow.
You know, like I didn't have time for life. I didn't have friends. I mean, it was just school and work, and that's all I was doing. And I didn't even have like money to like spoil myself with because I was putting it all back into school. And then to beat it all, like, my major wasn't even what I wanted. You know, like, I wanted to go for, like, animal conservation. I wanted to help, like, protect endangered species. And I was taking classes on human anatomy and human physiology, but it was supposed to be an environmental major. So I just kind of got fed up with it, and I was so burned out. Like, I thought I had come down with narcolepsy. I could not stay awake to save my life. I was like shoving cayenne pepper in my body as much as I could, just because that will help keep you awake. So, I mean, I was just in a really bad space. So I fell back onto this thing that I was into whenever I was a teenager, which was Wicca. I did a lot of learning of that on my own while I was a teenager. And then I kind of like fell back to it a little bit because that was comfortable for me. That was safe for me. It was accepting. It was loving. That's all that Wicca is about, is love. So I was like, okay, so I did this thing. I did a cleansing spell. And it was the first time that I'd cast a spell since being a teenager. And it was basically just to remove what no longer served your highest good and bring into your life what does. Yep. So I was like, man, that doesn't sound like anything that could backfire, you know? So I did it, and then the family that I had moved in with, they ended up disowning me like a week later.
Well,
so
as soon as you do that,
and that was, yeah.
As soon as you do that, anything that's not for your highest and best path just starts to shut away, right? But at the time, I'm sure it didn't feel like that.
Oh, God, no. I was like, oh, my gosh, what have I done? Like, this is a terrible idea, you know? Like, I mean, they did love me, and now we've started talking again, and you know, we're good now, but it'll never be the same, which is fine, you know, but yeah, so, like, it was really hard, you know, like, I thought that my life was over because I wanted them to be proud of me so bad. I had never really had that. You know, and I was like, man, I just needed things to work out. I didn't want that to happen. But once they disowned me, it kind of forced me to grow my own backbone. Like, I had to stand up on my own by myself, which I was already doing financially. It was just emotionally, it was very different. You know, like, I have a big family. I've always had family around me, but all of a sudden I was in college doing something I didn't like. You know, like, oh, that was one of the reasons why they disowned me, was because I withdrew from college. But I did it to save my GPA. But anyways, so, yeah, and I was just like, well, okay, I guess I'm just going to go try these different things and figure out what the heck I want to do with my life now. So I did, and I found a coven, and they were accepting new members, new dedicates. And I was like, you know what? No one's around to tell me that I'm going to hell for this, so I might as well go ahead and just go back into it, see if it's something I'm still interested in. And I did, and I found this very loving, very accepting spiritual family. You know, they wouldn't tell you how to live your life. They'd be like, hey, why don't you do this? It helps you find out who you are a little bit better, and you can find out how you want to live your own life. Yeah. And that was something I was not used to. I was used to everyone telling me, you need to do this, you should do that. You know, so it kind of, it helped me a lot to grow and start really connecting with my own spirit, with my own soul, and figuring out who I was, because I didn't know up to that point. So, yeah, I mean, I worked on that for, I think, 2.5 years before I met Rhea. Yeah. And then at that point, I had already done so much work to myself that whenever I met her, I guess it was just kind of like we both had done a lot of work, and we have a long way to go. We are by no means, you know, like Gandhi or anything, but we are, but we're pretty good where we are, and I think we're both ready to grow together. You know, like we've done our own independent growth, and I think
a lot
now,
of self-love. Yes,
that's what it's all about. You know? Yeah, that's really. All the work that you did prior to the meeting is what really helped the runner-chaser phase from dissolving, right? So.
Yeah. Meditation helped me so much. I recommend it to a lot of people. Some people don't listen, though, but it helped me a lot.
What was it?
I don't meditate. I just lose myself in music.
Okay, meditation is what you said. Meditation is what helped you a lot.
Yeah, I would meditate. I think the most I've ever felt was I meditated for 2 hours one day, and I could just I felt so good that day. That's when I first picked up a pendulum, because I didn't know what they were, you know, and I felt it working through me, and I would like take my stones and I'd set them up, and I could gauge all my stones because it would like spin faster for certain stones and slower for others. And I was like, oh, wow, this is really interesting. Yeah. I just thought I didn't believe in that. For the longest time, when I was younger, I didn't believe in stuff like that. So it like really, I guess from meditating so much and getting into myself, I don't know, I just understand how energies work better. I understand energies. Like, it's amazing. People just need to like understand them a little better.
Yeah. And it really helps you to connect more with your inner energy, that intuition, right?
Yeah.
And that spiritual energy. So that's really interesting because then you have something physical to work with, right?
Yeah.
And then, Rhea, how did you start out on your spiritual journey? What kind of brought you into it?
Well, I was with someone for 8 years, and I had a surgery I had to do, and it was a major surgery, and it was something I could have died or something, you know what I mean? And she wasn't there for me, like she didn't kiss me, say goodbye, I love you or anything. And so that stuck with me, and it was a 5-hour surgery, and when I came out of it, it's like I couldn't be with, I didn't feel her anymore. Like, I just saw her as like a friend in a friend way. I just couldn't see her romantically anymore. And it just freaked me out because I never thought I'd be that way with her. But I just knew that she wasn't my person. And we broke up, and then she went back to Washington State. And I didn't know if I could make it on my own. I was kind of scared to be alone. So, that's when I started meditating and getting into spirituality and things like that. And at first, for the first 4 months, it was pretty hard. I dealt with some depression and stuff like that. But after about 4 months and meditating, and I started running, and that's also a form of meditation too for me. And I just started loving myself, and in doing that, I found out that I don't need someone, that I can take care of myself. I always thought that I needed someone. Like every female in my family, they always had to have somebody around, and I thought I'd be that way too. Mm-hmm. And so now I know that I can survive without anyone, and I just loved myself. I started loving myself, so I mean that's what started me off on the journey.
Self-love,
self-love and all that. Totally.
That's amazing, because a lot of times when people don't recognize that until they meet their twin flame. So it's nice that you guys had that ability to do a lot of that inner work before meeting each other.
Yeah, we did. I did a marathon too. I ran a marathon, and so I mean, I never thought I'd do something like that.
Yeah.
And I did it on my own. So it was amazing.
Yeah, that's so amazing. So what do you guys where do you guys kind of see the future, and what is it that you guys have kind of started to want to manifest together?
We are actually. Since moving out here, I've got a job, and I'm already getting a promotion. I've been there for all of a month. So that's pretty exciting, but it's not my be-all, end-all, It's just I make good money where I'm at right now. So we're going to get into getting our real estate license. Hopefully COVID won't last much longer. And we're going to get our real estate license. She's done reconstruction and remodel before on houses. And growing up, my grandfather was always doing something to our house. He was always adding a room or building stairs or building model. He used to build model churches. Like he would go into a church and take that church and make a model of it for the, the communion jars, like where you put the money in for the church. So he would do that, and he would donate them to them, and they were like exact replicas. They were so amazing. So I've always been around that, and that's very comforting to me, and it's very comforting to her. And it allows us both to be artistic and giving these together. Old homes a new life, like a new lease on life, just like our love has done for us in a lot of ways. And I think that would be good for other people coming in, because these houses are going to be probably more affordable than, going into like a, like one of these fancier houses. This is going to be like a home that has been given a new breath of life, and hopefully the family that moves into it after we sold it, it gives them a new lease on life as well. And we'll do some witchy stuff with it, like, you know, we'll smudge it and bless the house and everything like that. So that way it brings in love and light for the next family to come in. Just kind of spread that around a little bit. But that also, doing that helps us and our family because, you know, like I have family that's really good with that type of thing. And if, you know, anybody ever needs a job or a place to stay or something, be like, hey, you know, like we're remodeling this house. Why don't you go stay there for a little while until we can get it done and you can get back on your feet. So it just gives us the opportunity to be together and have our dog present while we're there.
We love animals. So initially what Rand's scheme would be to eventually have enough money to buy like a small farm or something, because we both love animals. So
yeah.
It's amazing.
So it'll be cool. It just allows us to like be together and experience one another, but also help others too in our own way.
And it's interesting to hear about all the different types of just everyday jobs that we can create and bring energy healing into it, right?
Yeah.
And it's really, you can bring energy healing into everything.
Yes.
Right? So that's really amazing. And I noticed that you're both wearing gemstones. Do you guys want to share some of the things that you used for your healing?
So these are actually agates. These are just colored agates. We got these from Bristol Caverns the day that she proposed to me. So,
and this is the ring.
Yeah, and this is the ring, which is aquamarine, which is my favorite. So I'm very much into the blues, and I don't think you can see that very well. But I'm very much into the blues. She's very into purples and stuff like that.
My life path number is 3, and it's got
the Trincreta, which is Celtic, and that's significant to me.
It also has a 3 crown on top, a 3-tipped crown with the heart. I just thought it was perfect. When I saw it, I was just drawn to it, and the price of it and everything, it was perfect. 3s going off the charts.
And you know what's so funny?
It definitely combined the both of us.
And 3s are for ascended masters, and that's really what this Twinflame helps you do, to ascend into that space. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And then
I was actually looking at the ring, and this one just like called to me. It was just, this was the one.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's amazing when you get into that space where you've broken past many of your fears, that spiritual energy, that heart, intuitive, empathic energy, you start to hear more, right? And it just naturally, things flow so much easier than when you were stuck in the fear and the mind only, right?
The less you fight it, the more gratifying, I guess the more intense it is, you know, like when you just lean into one another and you just trust that connection. Yeah, just let your ego go and just trust the connection more than anything else. It is so beautiful and it's so freeing. It's so strange because I've never felt so secure and so free at the same time. Yeah. You know, like I've always thought in order to feel safe and secure, you're kind of bound, you know, but I don't feel that way at all. I feel very secure in and of myself and in and of our relationship, but I still feel very free. Like I like resin art and work and stuff like that. She's more into sculpting. We have our things that we both like, independent of one another, and those are important.
And what amazes me is, like, we have so much in common, and our age difference is really big.
Yeah, so there is that age gap there, too, like there is with most twin.
But we don't feel that at all. Like, at all. I'm 41.
I'm 26.
26. Yeah. But we don't feel like at all.
Yeah. Well, there's always these paradoxes where, you know, we've kind of lived in a box and this is the way it should be, but the twin flames break all those barriers, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's really to teach that all there is an energy and love, right? It's all about connection. It has nothing to do with the sex, with you know, your financial security, or, you know, any of those superficial things that we've been placing romantic ideologies on for, you know, since the beginning. The twin flame breaks all those barriers and boundaries, right? And it's funny because there is a lot of same-sex twin flames, and it's just to show that it has nothing to do with what a person looks like. It's all about,
like Native Americans thought of gay people and stuff as very special, as twins.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's really nice.
They honored it and said, you know, these are two-spirited people, right? So
two-spirit. Yeah, that was what it was. Yeah. It's kind of fascinating because, you know, I mean, at the base of everything, love is love, and, you know, love is this, probably, I think it is the strongest force that we have at our disposal. Yeah. You know, like, love is the only thing that comes for free, and it is the only thing that you can lose just as quickly as you've gained it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you nurture that, if you don't care for that love, and I don't care if it's between you and your twin flame or you and your dog, you know, like, if you're not caring for that and you're not, what's the word for it? Is it husbandry? I don't know. If you're not, like, taking care of it, if you're not putting in the work and the effort to make sure that you're nurturing, I guess, that connection, that energy flow, then it's going to get a little askew. Yeah. But I think love is the most powerful force that anyone has. Like, right now, like, in the world today, with everything getting as crazy as it is, we all want the same things. Yeah. Really, we do. It doesn't matter what group you're from, what your political belief is. We all just want to be accepted and free to live our lives as we feel and see fit. And we want to be comfortable doing that. Yeah. And the only way to do that is to really just love and emit that love and accept that love and have it for everyone else. And it's such an underrated thing, you know. People are like, oh, you know, we just use love for everything. You know, like, oh, I love that hair clip, you know, but you don't really. You just really like your hair clip. It's your favorite hair clip. Yeah. You know, but it's so underrated. We just kind of, I guess, get away from the true core of love, which is in and of itself, it's divine.
Exactly.
You know?
And that's the thing, like, when we've been placed inside this box and put, you know, we've had the wounded masculine in power for so many centuries, that our idea of love has been very skewed, right? It's been a very physical experience, when really it's very energetic, and it's a feeling that you can't see, right? So now that all of the wounded masculine energy is uprooting right now for healing, and it's because the feminine energies, that heart empathic energy, has been doing its work and coming into its empowerment, it's starting to shift. And it's really helping those wounded masculines because they've had too much excess mind energy, using it manipulatively. So now we're taking back that balanced energy and holding our power as that feminine energy in a balance. So it's really exciting to see the shift happen, right? And just this awareness of consciousness, so people can start living from their passion. So... And really, you know, when you're working and you start to recognize how the law of attraction works, and it's all about raising your vibration out of fear, growing and evolving past all those fears, you raise your vibration, well, abundance naturally flows to you, right? Yeah. So instead of working mind or matter over heart, you know, then we're working heart over matter, and it just starts to flow. Right? So it's really amazing. So for your guys...
There's so much more acceptance when you do it with love.
Yeah. Exactly. So when you guys healed, a lot of the stuff that you used was herbs. And then you're Wiccan, so you did a lot of spell work, which is also like an affirmation. I did rituals. I did do a spell, and I actually, hang on a second, I'll go grab it. One of the spells that we did for Beltane recently, that was, it's like a 12 braid, essentially. And then each one of those 12 things is a step, right? So they all represent, like, you know, your month out of the year. Because the Wiccan calendar is a year and a day. In those 12 steps, like, you weave your intent. You think about what you want at the bottom of that braid, and you just imagine what your steps are to get to that spot. For me, it was I did it to have, like, this fulfilling, very comforting, very safe, empowering relationship with Rhea.
And I knew that in order for me to do that, I came, like, whenever we met, I was in a very tough spot financially because both of my jobs had closed down. And I had a brother and my stepfather both passed away within a year of one another. So that put me in an even rougher financial situation. So I didn't really feel like I had anything to offer anyone financially. So, which we've talked about that, and we're completely comfortable with where we are right now, and everything's starting to come back together because we're putting that out in the universe.
Exactly.
You know, like that was part of my spell. I knew I needed to do these things in order to get where I wanted to be.
And that's how it is with us. Everything just falls into place.
Yeah, everything just falls in for us. Like, I mean, we put in the effort, and I think that's important too. Like, you can't just expect the universe, or in my case, the divine, you know, the God, the goddess, to just give you everything. It doesn't work that way. They help those who help themselves. Yeah. So if you put in the effort and you're constantly focusing on this thing, you're feeding the universe that intent. You're giving out what you want to receive. And you know, we work by the threefold or the tenfold law. Whatever you put out returns to you threefold. So again, with threes. But yeah, so it was just kind of neat. It was just kind of cool. But I'll go get the braid real quick and show you.
Okay.
Yeah. Really cool.
It's on the table.
Yeah, it's on the table.
And that's really so important, to really be aware of your thoughts and intentions, because you're always co-creating with the universe.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
So this braid, so the significance behind this is actually a part of my shirt. So I didn't have like a ribbon or anything, and that's one of the beautiful things about Wicca. You don't have to follow a rule book. That's what makes that such a phenomenal religion for me. And that's what helps me a lot with my witchcraft, which two are very different things, but that's a different subject. But so I took a piece of my shirt to make the braid, and then I attached a trinket, which was significant to me. But yeah, to the braid. So this was it. I don't know if that's coming out very well. So it's got the 12 braids, and then the trinket at the bottom.
Okay, yeah. Oh, the pentagram.
Yeah.
Which is such a beautiful significance for spirit over matter, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So beautiful.
So it's, again, that spiritual connection. It's the energy exchange.
Earth, fire, water, spirit.
Yeah. Alchemizing those energies to evolve your own energetic body. So it's beautiful. And it's funny because, you know, that gets a bit of a bad rap sometimes. So it's nice when we bring awareness to the truth of it, right? Because actually, if you look at high-ranking military badges, it's on there, but it's reversed, meaning matter over spirit, right? Which is that wounded masculine energy and that empowerment right now. But it's all shifting. So really exciting.
Yeah. I hope soon there'll be a nice balance between the two, because not one can't overrun the other.
No.
You know, like, it has to be balanced.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. Well, is there anything that you'd like to share? Maybe something inspirational to help people that are on this twin flame journey, maybe that are in separation and having to do this healing work on their own? And do you guys have anything to share? Or?
Do you have any advice?
Well, the ones in separation, I would say work on yourself and self-love before trying to get back together. Yeah. Because that's what's helped us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and don't take that for granted, you know, like it's extremely important. Like, the more work you do on yourself, the more you're going to get to focus on that person, you know, like your twin flame whenever you guys aren't in separation anymore. So, like, just if working on yourself for yourself isn't enough, just imagine that person whenever you guys are together. Start focusing on that union, you know, like, I'm going to be a better person for myself for that union. That way, whenever we're together, we have the best chance possible of not running away from one another again, not, you know, not losing each other, you know, like, so it is really important to take care of yourself. I feel like working on yourself and being alone is so underrated. People do not like being alone. Yeah. And if you don't like being alone, there is a lot of work that you need to do to yourself. Yeah, you're not ready. because you're gonna start putting that above the connection. You're gonna focus more on not losing that person than you are on like actually building a strong connection with them. You're just gonna get more possessive than you are connected. So definitely don't bypass your alone time. Focus on yourself. Focus on, you know, like figuring out who you are, what you like, what you want out of someone, what you actually want. You know, like everyone's like, oh, I just want this person that I can like, you know, be with for the rest of my life. Well, what does that look like to you? You know, like, do you want someone who's going to get up and make you breakfast in the morning, or do you want someone that you're going to get up and make breakfast for? You know, like, do you want someone who's going to be a complete partner with you, or do you want to be, you know, like taken care of more than anything? And either way is fine. That person is out there for you. It's just you need to really know yourself and be willing to call yourself on that. You know, like if you prefer to be pampered, you need to be able to be like, you know what, I want to be pampered. Because if you tell someone that you are going to be like meeting them halfway all the time and you're going to be a complete partner with them, you're going to get your hands dirty with them, and you don't like doing that, it's not going to work out. You're already setting yourself up for failure. So definitely know yourself. If you're alone right now, whether you're in separation or you haven't met that person, there's a reason why you're alone. You know, like breathe into the universe what it is that you want. Start like making your affirmations. Start saying it, speaking it. Start living it. You know, start, you know, it's like they say, dress for the job that you want. You know, prepare yourself for the life that you want. You know, like absolutely start working towards that. Once you get on the path of working towards it, your paths will overcross. As long as you guys are both working towards that, you'll overlap and you'll meet somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
So. I'm sorry.
And I think too, a lot of people sometimes they get so hyper focused on wanting that specific person in their life that it can drive the connection away, because energetically you're connected. And if you're, as the empath, if you're not pulling that energy back in you and you're always putting it, they're going to feel it and it's going to push them, because it's set up a certain way for the heart energy to lead the way. Right? So then the mind energy goes into their heart, right? So, yeah. It's all about self-love for sure.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
I try to help my friends so much. A lot of them, you know, they're lost right now, and I try to help them. But, you know, sometimes they take advice. Most times they don't. But I just try to tell them you have to have self-love. You're never going to be happy unless you learn to love yourself. Because you'll never know how to love someone else.
And and that doesn't mean, you know, like, I feel like self-love is a term that should be defined a little bit better in mainstream culture, because a lot of people are like, oh, I love myself, you know, like, I think that I'm a cool person, but they don't actually know what that means. You know, loving yourself is accepting yourself for who you are, where you are at that time, and acknowledging your faults and being willing to work on them. Don't you know, punish yourself for having faults. We're all going to have them. And even whenever you grow and you know, like develop out of those faults and you make them into strengths instead of weaknesses, you're still going to have other things that pop up. That's just part of humanity. That's just part of like our, I guess, ascension. You know, like you have got to find all of these things about yourself and fix them into the kind of person that you want to be. Self-love is about personal growth. It's about, you know, being able to like freely, unconditionally love yourself, because no one is going to love you unconditionally if you can't love yourself that way.
Yeah. And don't you guys find that every time you face those fears, you found a little gift within it? Like some kind of...
Oh my God. Absolutely. Yeah. Not long ago, actually, this past week, I swear we're like fireworks over here. It's insane. But this past week, we had a moment where my past kind of bled in a little bit. And I don't like to cry in front of people. I don't get emotional. Like I can be at one of the saddest moments of my life, and I will fight those tears back. Like, because I mean that's how I was raised. You don't cry. You know, like that's a sign of weakness. I know that's not true.
Yeah, it's all about vulnerability now, right?
So hard. Yeah, you know, being completely like vulnerable with someone, like opening that shell and being like, here I am. Here's all my gooey bits. You know, like it's really hard. So I got emotional and I started crying. I almost shut you. So I almost closed her off. You know, like I was feeling so many.
She was doing that too.
I was feeling so many positive emotions. Now I've felt that strongly with like grief but never that strongly with happiness. I didn't even know that was like the level of happiness I could feel. So once I started feeling it, it was so overwhelming that I didn't know what to do with it. And my immediate reaction is just stop it. Just close it off, you know, like, because we'll deal with it when we can get there. We're not there yet, you know?
Yeah.
So I wanted to just snap it and, like, close it off. But yeah, like, I look at her and I feel her and I'm like, I don't want to do that, because I know the minute that I close that emotion off, I'm going to lose that.
Yeah.
So reminding myself of our connection, it took me a few minutes. I had to calm down and kind of really find the words to define what I was feeling. But she gave me that time, and I think the only thing that she asked was, did you have a flashback? And I was like, no, like, it's okay, it wasn't that, you know. So, but yeah, and then she gave me my time, and then I started talking to her about it. I was like, this is what I'm feeling, you know, like, it's not you, it's a lot, you know, and we just kind of took our moment and we talked about it, and afterwards, after we did that, after we talked about it, and, you know, like, we completely understood where each other was coming from and why we were feeling the way that we were feeling in that moment, our bond, yeah, it was almost like you could feel it grow stronger in that moment. It was like reinforcing that braid, you know, like, I could just feel another strand go over. It was like we just come together even closer than we already were, and we didn't even know that was possible.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's interesting. But yeah, you definitely strengthen your oneness whenever you are completely one with one another. Like, you can't tell yourself, you know, oh, I'm not actually feeling some kind of way. Well, you're still going to cry because you're still feeling that way, you know? Yeah. You can't lie to yourself that way. And your twin flame is your mirror self. You know, don't lie to them. Just be completely honest with them. Tell them what you're feeling. Yeah, give in.
Yeah.
That's hard for me to do. It's hard for me to give in. But she makes me want to. And I face that every time it comes up, and I tell her what's going on, and we deal with it together.
And it's really such a gift to have that complete opposite but the same energy mirroring you. You know, to be able to really work so intricately with it, right?
Yes.
And before we close off, you know, I'm just kind of curious if you guys have had a spiritual experience, you know, it doesn't have to deal with the twin flame, but something that really kind of blew your mind when it came to connecting with spirit. Like, some kind of experience. Is there something you guys can think about?
Whenever you were meditating?
Oh, when the way I feel?
No, whenever you were meditating on that day for 2 hours and you had that vision.
Yeah, that was mine. Yeah, the 2-hour meditation I had and everything. Yeah, that was that. When I meditated that day, I felt like I was connected with space through. I just felt like I was on a string connected from space to the earth, and I was spinning like somebody was spinning me, and my body would actually spin, and that right there, and then the pendulums, when I picked up one of those, and it was like moving, and I mean, that was my wake up right there.
Yeah.
That's when I understood it. I understood energies and how they work that day.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
That was mine.
Mine was probably, I've had so many different little things ever since this all began 2 years ago. Mine was probably one instance where I was hanging out with my coven members. A couple of us had hung out after the meeting. We usually do that, just to talk, hang out with each other, catch up, personal lives kind of thing. And we decided that we were going to do some spirit work. And we were going to do not a Ouija board, but just spiritual communication.
Yeah.
And we started doing that. And my recently departed grandfather, who died 2 years ago, had come through. And, you know, I was going through a lot of stuff. I thought I was going to have my brother's kids for a little while, and I was not mentally, emotionally, financially prepared to have 3 kids. And I was going to do it. That's my family, you know, and I love them. So I was willing to do it. I just didn't know what I was doing, and I was scared, and all of these other things were going on. my grandfather came through and was trying to communicate with us. He was having some difficulties. He hadn't been passed on very long. But we ended up being able to have a conversation with him. And it's interesting because anybody that doubts that, there's always this thing that they'll do or they'll say that just kind of affirms that that is really who they say they are.
Yeah.
You know, I think communicating with my grandfather after he had passed on, because he was the first person that I came out to when I was 13, you know, and he didn't think anything of it. He was just like, well, all right, you know, that's fine.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool. You know, like for ex-military, like raised in the Bible Belt, like I was worried about how that was going to play out in my family.
Yeah.
But he was so it was nice to be able to know that he's still around, even though I don't see him. And my high priestess, so my priestess tells me that I'm a walking Ouija board. So essentially, spirit, you know, energy. It's all energy. It doesn't matter if it's living human energy or if it's passed on. This is still all energy.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's starting to storm out here.
That's all right.
But these energies can, like, they flow through me, which I think is probably why I'm so closed off. I have to be in order to protect myself in a lot of ways.
Yep.
Because it doesn't discriminate, you know, about what kind of energy is coming through. But they just come through. Mm-hmm. You know, like, I'm a gateway in a lot of ways. I've connected people to the coven that were looking for that spiritual family, and I'm able to be that way with them, and I'm able to, like, really just, a lot of times I just put people in their place. I don't mean to. But again, the walking Ouija board thing, and the more that I lean in on it, and the more that I trust it, the more that I start, like, connecting more with the divine, the more that I'm able to help other people. Yeah. And sometimes I can tell people to do something. I'll be like, well, you know what? Maybe you just need to focus more on yourself, or maybe, you know, like, this person isn't really mad at you. They're just mad because they have trauma in the past, and you need to be understanding of that. And tell them that they'll, you know, whatever. I just give out this information.
Yeah.
And it seems to be sound advice, but and everybody's grateful for it, but I just let it come out because that's the divine working through me to connect to other people. You know, like, that's their advice for them is focus on this thing next. Yeah. You know, like, be more understanding, be more loving. And I think that's important, but that's probably my most pivotal moment was learning that I was capable of this connection and that I was able to do these things for other people. So it's really funny because I don't really care for people that much. I'm more of an animal person, but but in those moments, I'm not necessarily talking to a person. I'm talking to a soul. Yeah. You know, like, we're all on this plane together, and until we're on a different plane together, this is what we need to focus on. And exactly. I think that my ability to trust in the divine is probably my most significant spiritual growth, because I was never able to do that before I found Wicca. Because I was always told I'm going to hell anyway, so why bother, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
But with Wicca, we don't believe that, you know? Like, everything, all acts of love are sacred.
Yeah.
You know?
I really think the only form of hell is when you're going through the dark night of the soul, you know, and facing all those fears to come into that spiritual path, right? So
just 4 months that I was alone, the first 4 months.
Yeah. We refer to that as the labyrinth.
Yeah.
What did you say? Sorry?
We refer to that as the labyrinth. So it's like within each of us there is this essentially kind of like a cave. Yeah. You know, and like we have to go through all of these ourselves, and certain different deities are there to guide you through it, you know. Kate's one of them. She has the torches. Again, it's 2 torches, the Twinflames thing. Yep. So all the symbolism is always there, but they kind of guide you through the different layers of yourself to get to that full, like, enlightenment. And you have to do all of the work in order to go through this, or else you're going to get stuck in a chamber. You know, like, I know this is a really drawn out version of this.
Karmic loops that you get stuck in. Yeah, no, I get it completely. Yeah, it's amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. And it's always nice when people that are doing their work and coming into this state of union within can share their story, because it inspires other people that are going through, like what do you call it, the cave or the chamber? No, that's the karmic loop. The labyrinth, So Dark Night of the Soul, the Labyrinth, you know, it's a tough place to get through. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care, guys.
You too.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.